So there's a profound shift that's been occurring in a lot of people's lives, and you may be feeling this energy at this moment in your own life. And there's a lot of decisions that have been made, there's a lot of actions that have been taken, there's a lot of things that have changed in your life. And this is a result of you beginning to draw in the life of your highest desire. So it's very beautiful because as you've done this, you've put out the intention and you've given yourself open, surrendered to the process of change, because you realize that change is going to require you letting go of certain things from your past, certain things that just don't align with your future, that don't align with the highest version of yourself. So there is a purging process, there is a grieving process, even an old version of yourself that no longer is going to be something that's going to be able to come with you into this new future. There's a sense of parting ways that is happening right now. Parting ways with certain people, parting ways with certain habits, parting ways with certain belief systems, parting ways with certain ways of identifying within yourself even. And this is something that can cause a lot of emotional upheaval even, because we can become very familiar with certain aspects of ourselves or certain people within our own lives, certain habits, certain behaviors, and then the idea of never having access to them or having them be a playing role within your future life, it can seem a little uncertain. There's uncertainty, but it's more of like the unknown, like what is going to be able to fill up the space that these things once took up. And God just wants you to know that there's so much more good stuff coming in for you, and that you're going to see that as you continue moving forward through these changes. You go through the grieving, you go through the the releasing, the parting ways, this whole emotional dance. Once you go through it and you allow yourself to fully be open to the new energy that's coming into your life, the new relationships, the new friendships, the new opportunities, the new jobs, the new creative endeavors, the new financial adjustments, the new health adjustments, the new mind adjustments. As you start going through this process, you're going to start having these things take an active role within your life. And then this is just going to be the new normal for you, where it just becomes who you are. All the people in your life, all the ways you take care of yourself, you take care of others, everything's going to become so familiar to you. And then you're going to have this new life that is full of a lot more gratitude, a lot more appreciation, a lot more respect, a lot more integrity, a lot more generosity, a lot more contribution. There's a lot more fulfillment that's coming into your life because of you going through this process. And it's very, very beautiful, because not a lot of people are willing to go through this process, or at least if they do go through this process, everyone is on their own timeline and everyone goes through their own phases and journeys in life. Some people never get to significant changes in their lives, and they stay stuck with certain habits or behaviors or people their entire lives. And that's just something that they may have never known, that there is another way, or there's just so much fear of having to change and being someone else that they're not. Maybe they have identities. Oh, okay. So what I'm hearing is that some of these people identify with certain friendships or certain relationships, even certain lifestyles. And even though these lifestyles are harmful, these relationships or these people that they're around, these friendships that they have are harmful, or they're not really serving of them, it's who they've become, because they've built such a foundation within these cultures with certain people, that now doing a roundabout face and speaking either of a different path or of a different lifestyle, it would make them feel like they were being fake in some regards. There's some fear of being judged or being seen as a fraud or being seen as someone who is maybe even unreliable to some kind of extent. But there's this feeling of, oh, what would other people think? Because I lived my life for, years, decades even, being this persona, being this person, being this, showing up in the world in this way. And now if I go and maybe speak up against, maybe even speak up against the way I had been living, there's a sense of fraud because they were so identified with that version of themselves that they used to be. But that's where the healing is. That's where the growth is. That's where the making a new level is, if the things that are being changed are for the betterment of that person's self. And by increasing ourselves, by becoming better versions of ourselves, we learn how to deal with certain elements of our lives that just weren't, or were no longer serving of us, that didn't play a role in our lives that would make sense for us to carry on to this future, because those things are actually holding us back in many senses. What I'm hearing is certain habits like maybe drinking or partying, using substances, eating certain kind of foods, hanging out with certain kind of people that are very negative or gossip or very patronizing. This could even be people who are authoritative or have like superiority complexes. There's a whole range. There's a whole range of things that you could probably relate to, or you've maybe even identified with yourself. Even maybe in some parts of your life you had got in with certain groups and they behaved in certain ways, and by almost like a sense of osmosis, being around certain people, you started developing certain habits or certain belief systems. You started showing up in the world in certain ways. You started dressing up like them, talking like them, participating in certain things that they participated in. And something within you felt a sense maybe of camaraderie or this feeling of belongingness. But at the core, whatever it is that you guys were bonding over, it was actually detrimental to yourself and your spirit and your actual higher path on this world. But the fear of losing the camaraderie, of becoming a person that was actually in alignment with yourself, maybe there were some ideas of not feeling good enough or unworthiness or inadequacy, and that was keeping you in a sense of perpetual sabotage, self-sabotage even. But you've moved past that. You've already moved past that. Or you're also maybe even digging up new things that you weren't aware of. That's like, oh my God, I'm doing this thing. I've been doing this thing for so long, and this is affecting me emotionally, energetically, and this is not something that I want to carry on to the new place in my life. And as you get through the act of letting go of certain things in your life, and then realizing as time passes that you don't pick those things back up, you don't pick those people back up, you don't pick those habits back up, you don't pick those belief systems back up, as more distance is created between you and the thing that you once were, the more comfortable you feel at being able to release new things that come up into your life, that you realize like, oh my God, this too is not something that makes sense for me to keep holding on to in my life. And then you're able to get the releasing process going and flowing in a much quicker fashion, because you're becoming very sensitive to understanding whether or not something is in alignment with who you are currently in your life, and if something's going to take you or deviate you from a path that isn't directed towards the betterment of yourself, the betterment of people around you, the betterment of life. What I'm hearing is like just improving life, not only your own life. Maybe there was a point in your life where you were really, really, really working just to repair yourself, and maybe that's what you needed. That's sometimes that's something that we need, that we can't focus on other people, we can't give to other people, we can't pour into other people because we don't even have anything, we don't have enough to even pour into ourselves. So we go and we start pouring into ourselves, and we pour into ourselves, we fill our own cup, and we receive and receive and receive and receive, and we heal, we heal, we heal, we change, we change, we change. And then we get to a certain point where like, okay, now we are empowered and we have this ability to give back. And that is where the next level of consciousness as far as improving life comes from improving life, not only for yourself, but improving the life of the other people around you. You start receiving more finances, you start receiving more emotional support or emotional fortitude, so you can help out people who maybe are in rougher places. But then you also learn when you're able to recharge your own batteries, like how much can you give, and then where's the point where it's like, hey, you got to take a step back, you got to heal, you got to rest, you got to tend to yourself, and allow other people to also live their own journeys, not live other people's journeys for them, but allow other people to rest in your energy, and you can rest in other people's energy for a certain amount of time. But you too also understand that if you're around certain people, because you need the support, you need the assistance, you need the upliftment, that you're not going to also be there and use them as some kind of support long term, right? Maybe in the short term, if that's what we all need from time to time. We know we all need somebody to lean on. We always have that moment in our lives where we need to lean on somebody. But then there's also the time whenever there's someone else who needs someone to lean on, and we become that person because we are in a place where we are aligned and we're ready and we're able to give from that place. And as you connect closer to God, as you connect closer to the power from which all things come, you start realizing that it's just a flow. It's like a flow of energy, and you allow this energy to pass through you to the people that it's necessary to pass through. And also, again, when you can show someone that vibration, you can show someone what it feels like to be living in a certain energy, as an example that too is something that they can live in their own lives. And then they get to work with that energy themselves, but that's something that they have to go and process in their own lives, if that's something that they're looking to do. And learn how to fish, right? Learn how to fish. And that's what you're kind of doing. You're teaching people how to fish, not just feed them fish. And sometimes you feed people fish, like you're generous. You're going to feed people a lot of fish, right? in many different ways this can relate to in your life. But you're going to give so much. But you're here to show people how to multiply. There's so much plenitude in life. And you're here to show people how to take what is given to them and make that so fruitful. Like the few seeds that they're given, you're planting seeds in people, or you're giving people seeds that they can plant in their own garden, and you're showing them, this is how we take care of these seeds, this is how we nurture them, this is how we fertilize them, this is how we water them, this is how we have this energetic exchange with these things that are going to support us later in the future. And then as appreciation for the harvest that they give us. Oh, so what I'm hearing is that we get the harvest because of the appreciation and the attention and the love that we pour into the plants, right? Into these seeds. That is what our reward is. But the plants are thanking us, because if they didn't have us to nurture them, they wouldn't have been able to grow up fruitfully and actually bear fruit. But because we're here to nurture them and take care of them and fertilize them, this could be over months, this could be over years, then we are able to harvest those fruits, and it benefits us. So pouring into life, pouring into things that you take care of, whether that be people, whether that be your own needs, whether that be in other ways, like contributing back to the inflow of life. You're adding, because one day you're going to harvest. Whether it be from that person directly or from another source, that energy has to come back to you. It has to come back to you in plenitude. But there's principles that are in play of how that plenitude will come back to you. And it's very important that we have the right practices. Right? We know when to water. We know when to fertilize. We know when to plant. And this is something that we're learning, that you're learning, that a lot of people are learning at this time. It's learning when are the seasons that we're here to give generously, and what are the times that we have to allow ourselves just to harvest what we've been able to tend to, and then store, and then repeat the process over and over again. So you're also learning not to overexert yourself, not to strain yourself, not to come from a place of heightened emotion even. I am sensing that there's a lot of you that are also going to be experiencing or put into situations or responsibilities. You're going to be given responsibilities, opportunities that have responsibilities attached to them that require you to be very emotionally stable. And this is something that's very beautiful, because as you become more emotionally stable, because you developing your character, you developing yourself as a person who has integrity, operates out of integrity, speaks life, into the world, gives back to the world, gives from a place of abundance, from a place of sincerity. You're not doing things because you're expecting anything specific on the back end, but you know that it has to come back to you. You do it because it's just a law of the it's a law of giving and taking, like, again, sowing, planting, and then harvesting. So there's a time that we have to harvest. So you're comfortable when it's time for you to harvest, like all the rewards that you've been tending to, and then you also know that there's a time that you got to plant back into the earth, into other people, into other situations. So you're learning this process, and you're learning this process. You're becoming a master at this process, and that's really allowing you to up level emotionally and spiritually, mentally, physically, socially, in so many different regards. So you're just increasing your life right now. You're increasing your life because you're looking to increase other people's lives. You're looking to increase other people's lives, and you will be blessed, you will be supported, you will be provided for abundantly. And you understand that this isn't something that is difficult. This isn't something that is hard. This isn't something that requires stress and strain and struggle. And that may even be something that you've been learning how to navigate, because you could come from a culture or from an upbringing where hard work and effort and sacrifice and suffering and strain and struggle and all the stuff was something that was fed into you. So you believed that you had to experience all of these emotions in order to get your harvest. But the thing is that is something that you could experience if that is what you believe, but that isn't the only way to harvest. There are many ways to harvest. And the most effortless way to harvest is coming from a place where you're in alignment with the fruits that you're even planting. Like maybe planting certain fruits, the harvest is a lot harder, right? It's a lot harder to get the harvest because it's like so what I'm seeing is like you're planting maybe citrus trees in the north part of the world, the northern hemisphere, where like it's colder, because citrus trees, they don't survive freezes, right? So if you're trying to plant and tend to citrus trees in areas where it freezes over, then it's going to be a very difficult harvest for you, right? You're going to put a lot of work, a lot of effort trying to plant the wrong seeds in the wrong soils in the wrong areas, and that's going to be very difficult. So this idea of having to work hard and struggle and stress and strain and sacrifice and all this stuff, it's because what I'm seeing is that you would be planting the wrong seeds in the wrong ground, in the wrong place on earth. And that's why the harvest is so hard and difficult. But if you plant those same seeds in the right areas, then those things will just blow up. It'll almost be impossible not to mess up that harvest. Excuse me. So learning like what parts of the world that you need to plant these seeds, what are the right seeds to plant in the soil that you're looking to cultivate. So having the right seeds is going to make the harvest so much easier, because then you're working with a species, with a plant, with some seed that actually is meant to be harvested in that area. It's native to that area. So don't go and try to plant foreign seeds in native soil if those foreign seeds aren't meant for native soil. And what I'm seeing is now that this garden is your mind. So your mind is this garden. Your mind is this soil. So don't get foreign seeds. Oh, wow. This is getting kind of deep. Don't get foreign seeds from other people who come from other places where those seeds may harvest fruitfully. But in your soil, those seeds are not meant to be planted there, because if you plant those seeds from foreign soils that people bring you from foreign soils and you try to plant them in your soil, it's going to be difficult. It's going to grow scraggly. It's not going to get the right nutrition. It's not going to get the right, it's not the optimal condition for those seeds to plant. So if you're trying, or if you've tried out certain habits, certain behaviors, certain ideas, certain belief systems, and you see that it's so difficult for you to get a harvest from these belief systems, then that's a good indicator that you're planting the wrong seeds in the soil that is meant for you, and that it would be highly suggested to maybe plant some seeds that are native to the soil, that's actually going to help grow you and lead you down a path that the harvest is going to be a lot easier. It's going to be effortless. There's going to be action that's required. There's going to be action that you'll need to take, but the seeds that you're then planting, it's for native soil, and it's going to be able to grow abundantly. And I was also hearing that there are also some seeds that if you were to plant, they're invasive. They're invasive species. So if you were to plant certain seeds into the soil of your mind, it would, like almost like a virus, just take over the whole landscape of all the other beautiful plants that you may have already planted. So I'm getting a vision of, like, if you planted seeds in your health, in your social health, in your financial health, in your emotional health, and you have this very beautiful garden, and then someone gives you these foreign seeds, it says, plant these in your garden, it's going to help you out. And then you plant them in your garden, and then those seeds start growing, and then they start taking over all those other areas of your life, your finances, your emotions, your mental health, your, spiritual health. Then it just takes over the garden, and the garden is now just full of like weeds and just this species that was never meant to be planted there. And then it's like almost you would have to get rid of so much of your beautiful crops, because now you just need to clear the path all over again so that you can have the soil to build from. I feel now, though, that you are at a place where you can see like an invasive species that someone's trying to give you, a seed that someone's trying to give you, and you're not even going to plant it. You already kind of see, like, you already see ahead in the future of what would happen if you were to plant this person's seeds into your soil, and you're not even going to take the risk, because you've probably done it a couple of times before in the past, and you got the certain results by planting these things. So now you understand that you don't have to plant seeds into your garden. You don't have to plant seeds into the soil. You're only here to plant seeds that are in alignment with who you are as a person, that is centered in integrity, centered in respect, centered in guidance and generosity and contribution and love and affection and a lot of health in your life. So you're here to uplift. You're here to carry a very stable emotional nature about yourself, so that way you can continue to thrive and show people what it is to thrive. And what I'm even hearing is that you understand that you're on native soils, right? And that your seeds that you harvest in your native soils may not be the seeds that someone else needs for themselves. However, the techniques of planting and sowing and reaping and watering and fertilizing, they're universal truths. So you're not going to give someone your seeds if they're going to go plant it in foreign soils where your seeds wouldn't root and they wouldn't thrive. Or maybe your seeds, and for whatever reason, would be an invasive species to their soils. And you're not going to do that. You're not going to go and give someone else like these invasive species so that way they can plant and then cause like havoc. What I'm hearing is that you may have like some certain beliefs that would challenge other people. They would challenge other people to grow into things that they're not ready to grow into. And you also understand that some people may not be ready for certain types of knowledge, certain types of confrontations within themselves, within their own souls, like putting up a mirror so that way they have to see where they are at in order for them to now make the decision of whether or not they're going to want to be in their own predicament, life situation, whatever it is. and whether or not they want to grow, because that may not be something that someone's willing to look at right then and there. And same thing for you. There might be some seeds that you wouldn't be wise for you to plant, not because they're invasive, like in a negative sense even, but like almost like it's gonna overtake everything else you've been growing. But maybe what you've been growing isn't actually what you need to be growing, right? So this other stuff, it would grow over your garden, even though it's actually, wow, this is interesting. It maybe even be like a beneficial like species. It sounds crazy, but the thing is that it would require you to remove all the other vegetation that you have in your garden out, so that way you can make room for this new species. But if you don't want to let go of the old plants that you have, as unserving maybe that these plants are, then it's going to be a lot of emotional conflict, right? If you're not ready to let go and make the changes yourself, if you're trying to be forced, it'll feel like you're being forced into these changes. And it can cause a lot of emotional stress if you aren't ready for that. So you're, I guess what, okay, so what I'm seeing is that you're learning how much you can do as well. So maybe this is something you'll grow into, right? Maybe you'll replace the plants in your garden with a more prolific, because I'm hearing that this species that you would be planting is almost like something that is meant for the soil that you have, but you have to be very careful, because not everybody's gonna know. Yeah, so what I'm hearing is that you don't want to get just don't get ahead of yourself. Don't get ahead of yourself right now. Don't get ahead of yourself right now. Plant what you need to plant, focus on what you need to focus on, and grow into what you need to grow into. Don't plant other people's seeds in your garden. Don't allow other people to plant your seeds in their gardens if they're not ready for it. And this is a part of a message that'll get continued on at a later time. That's what I'm hearing. It's getting a little too deep for the message. So continue on doing what you're doing, but you've learned a lot. You've learned a lot about yourself, and you're growing to this new developed version of yourself. And because of that, your seeds are going to bear you so much fruit, so much beautiful fruit, and you're going to be able to thrive so abundantly in your life. So yeah, that's the message that's coming through right now. Just know that you're on the right path, you're on the right frequency, and just trust that the next right thing is going to show up in your life continually. It's meant to. And that if you're feeling struggle and stress and strain, and things aren't feeling like fulfilling, then that's an indicator that perhaps you need to either take a rest and then give it another shot, or change directions entirely. But you'll know that there's this sense of balance that you're really embodying now in your life, where you're learning how to balance the actions with the rest, and the allowing things to be effortless in your life, meant to be effortless in your life. You do like a tenth of the work you used to do, and you get 10 times as much harvest than you used to, because you're planting the right seeds and you're allowing the right seeds to thrive in the soil that you're living in. So that's where you're at right now, and a lot of abundant things are going to be continuing to come into your life. A lot of beautiful friendships, relationships, opportunities, upgrades, and it's just meant for you at this time in your life. So that's the message that's coming through for you guys. I love you. You guys take care. I'll catch you in the next one. Like, subscribe, leave a donation, and I'll see you then.